Hello, I want to welcome everybody to the Doug Loughridge Coaching Show. I'm Jared Schoonover, here with Coach Doug Loughridge. And Coach, Phase 1's complete. We've talked about it for a couple weeks now. Got to talk about it on Friday nights as far as how the season is broken up for you in different phases. I would assume that you couldn't be more pleased with Phase 1 being a winning season and getting ready to go into conference play on a good note after P. Ridge.
Football is everybody's just so giddy to get to that first game. And that, after you get to that, you see all the things you got to work on real quick in those first 3 weeks to try to get ready for conference. And we had a good first 3 weeks. We came out of that 2-1, minimal injuries, but we were able to grow in those 3 weeks and hopefully fix the things we needed to fix. Move some position players around, do some things differently, things we liked, didn't like. So going into, conference now, it's time where everybody goes in 0-0, and now everybody's playing to get a chance to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Coach, one thing that you got to look at from a positive note in the 3 games, you're that close from being 3-0 really in this phase. And obviously it's as our kids really learn to win as you develop this football program going in. But there's a lot of things, even in our loss, that I think that we could take away from that because our kids competed and they put themselves in position to have a chance to win that football game, which is a big step for the program. And I think the other big step that can oftentimes go unnoticed is a team that's a program that you're building that is learning to win, and they are winning. One of the biggest things, not only you want to play those teams that are equal or a little bit better to you close and have a chance to win, but the teams that you are better than, you want to have the ability to put them away and put them away early. And can you talk a little bit about that, in the non-conference season, the 2 wins that we have in the 2-1 season, really we've been able to step on both Heritage and P. Ridge early and not let up off the gas.
Well, I just think that shows our growth from year 1 to year 2. Last year the Rogers Heritage game was a tight game, came down to the end of the second half. Last year, the Alma game was more than a 2-score defeat. P. Ridge game came down to the last series. So we have shown the growth on winning, on how we win now. I mean, I think someone told me that was the first Siloam Mercy Rule victory in over 10 years. So our kids never been on that side of that. So how do you react? How do you, finish the game out? How do you take care of the football? Do the things, not let them back in it. So that was big for us to learn how to win and how to learn how to win in that way.
I mean, you think about that gap, when you talk about summer boys that are juniors, that means that they were probably in first grade, or seniors in second grade, since the last time that was where Siloam Springs football was at. So it's come a long ways in really a short period of time with you. We're just really in what I would consider 13, 14 months into your time here, going into your second season in the first 3 games, going into conference. But let's step back. I think one thing we don't want to do, we had a bye week, right? So we had a little bit of a gap here, but we don't want to not celebrate what happened 2 weeks ago with P. Ridge. We talked about a man in Tony Travis that we knew going into it would always have his kids playing hard and maximize the talent that he has and what he does on the football field, and we knew that would be the case with Coach Travis. But could you talk a little bit about the success? Really, we saw success in all 3 phases of the game, and if it comes down, I would think that you would agree with this. Both our defensive and offensive lines won the battle of the line of scrimmage. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think we kind of set the tone from the very first snap of the ball game. That was the first game we had to go offense first, and to be able to drive down and score and put points on the board first. The difference in classifications from 3A to 4A, 4A to 5A, 5A to 6A, 6A to 7A. One of the biggest discrepancies is offensive and defensive linemen, and not totally just size and strength, but that as well as numbers. So we are at that point now where we have good numbers, where a lot of them don't have to play both sides of the ball. They will back each other up, so they're fresh on both sides, but we're also bigger and stronger than we had been. So I think you saw a difference in that, and we've really been able to do that the first 3 weeks. Now, this week will be a little different because we're getting in against a 6A team, but to be able to lean on those guys and to be able to physically impose your will, offensively and defensively is a big thing. Especially when you get into the second half and third and fourth quarter, and when the other teams are getting tired and your guys are just getting amped up.
Yeah, we talked about it against Alma really, a couple weeks ago when we were talking in the coaching show. A lot of times you're seeing 3 and 4 yards a pop in that first half, and then that changes as the game goes on to 6, 7, and 8 yards a pop, especially when you get that rhythm going on offense and you get going downhill and the success that happens. And you really take advantage of teams that play guys on both sides up front, and you see it. Then also your defensive line get the benefit of that too. Just that kid's a little slower getting into the set. That kid's not coming off the ball quite as hard, and you're beating him to the punch. So can you speak a little bit? We talk about your offensive line. It is, to me, it's a standout thing right now on our football team. It's a lot of fun to watch. I love seeing, especially you can really see it in zone. Because everything right now is in unison. You can see the kids understand the concept. They're getting better at it week in and week out. But let's flip over to the other side of the ball, because I think that our defensive line is something that we've got a couple pretty special players on there, and some players that you can see through the first 3 weeks that have grown and really come into their own as far as, because you are playing kids on one side of the football. Can you talk a little bit about the defensive line?
Well, Coach Benson, that's his baby, is the defensive line, and with him being the defensive coordinator, obviously that's his special. And then just having the time with those guys and individuals, so many periods a day to sharpen their craft. And we knew the guys that were going to be really good on the defensive line, and we knew what they were capable of. But where we have grown is the guys that we didn't know were going to be there, and how they have transitioned and how they've grown, like the Marcus McKnights, Connor Robbins, the Blake Huffs, the Adrian Salazars, those guys that have just emerged. And we know what Boaz can do. We know what Isaac Calderon can do. But the way those guys have grown and now complete as a unit. And, our defensive line makes our linebackers better. Our defensive line makes our secondary better. So, we're pretty young. We've got some returning starters at the linebacker core, but one of them's in a different position, and one of them was a sophomore last year. We got a new one starting outside linebacker, and then we got two new. We got a new corner breaking in. So they have made the rest of our defense just better.
I think it's really obvious, and people sometimes will look at a kid and when they don't come from a background that you come from in coaching, they look at maybe, man, the stuff. Satolovich kid that's a sophomore, boy, he'd be a great nose. He'd be special if he was a nose. He probably would be. If you played him on that side of the ball, he probably would be. But what happens when you commit to another body to develop that body? What happens is by week 5, week 6, week 7, that kid's ready to roll, and you're a better football team because you're now a man deeper. And I see that with our defensive line. I feel like it seems to be that we are deep. We do have some rotation going on there. With guys coming in and out, and some of them are probably offensive first guys on the offensive line, but the core of that unit is a one side of the ball unit, and it's pretty special. Then you got the kid in Boaz that Boaz Benson. He plays with a lot of energy. He's fast. He's got a good first step. He's got a good punch with his hands. There's a lot of things that Boaz does well, and even I see a big difference between his sophomore year and his junior year. Even him coming down flat on the line of scrimmage, how much faster he is. That's a credit to the offseason that you guys are doing with Coach Benson and yourself, as far as just quickness and speed. But there's just a lot of positives that you see on both sides as far as both offensive and defensive line. Can you talk a little bit about the P Ridge game? Who was your player of the game, and who are some of the guys? You talked a little bit about it already, but who are some of the guys that stood out overall?
Well, our Farm Bureau player of the game this week was Titus Benson, 9th grade quarterback. He accounted for over 200 total yards, passing and running that game. He had his best night throwing the football that night, so he really grew, as a player. And we're going to see that every week with him. He's going to get in some trouble, and he's going to get into some good defenses, but just his character and his personality, he's a no-brainer for that position just because he's a competitor, and he will leave it all out there. And he's not scared. He's a 14-year-old kid running against 18-year-old men, but he will stick his nose in there and do what he has to do. But he really led us that game. Of course, Mason Short again running the football was great with him. We were without Ryan Estacio last game, so Mason got the bulk of that. We did run Titus a little more and do some misdirection things with Jack and some people like that, but for the most part, it was those two. Again, offensive line played great. Defensively, we got the turnovers, got the things we needed to do, and special teams were big again, last week.
I agree. One of the things, Coach, that in talking about Titus Benson, obviously we want to start out talking about that offensive line because it's so easy to talk about the skill guys. But when you talk about Titus, one of the things I love about Titus, and it's a real test for kids, and really for me as a former quarterback guy, I wanted my quarterback to be the first guy up. When he took a shot, it's a mentality thing and it's a mindset, and it really sells to the defense. Let's go again. I'm ready for you. You gave me your best shot. And for a young kid, he's going to take some of those throughout the game. There's probably more talking going out there than what we realize of those upperclassmen talking to that freshman on the opposing side. But you always notice the thing I love about Titus Benson, even when he gets smoked, which he does sometimes, that's going to happen in the game of football, he's the first to get back up on his feet. And that's a mentality that sells and bleeds into the rest of your team, which is very evident. It's just exciting. I'm excited to see. I agree, obviously, Titus threw the ball well, throwing the ball well off of really because you develop so much in the run game. One thing that we saw this game, and, I think in the coaching show, you try not to talk too much scheme because you want to believe, they got plenty. They're watching huddle and everything's out there, the opponent, but you don't want to talk about keys and reads and all that, in your coaching show. But one of the things that's evident, and they'll see it on huddle at Lake Hamilton, I'm sure, we broke out the counter this last game and really had a lot of success running with that counter play off the wide zone. Can you talk a little bit about how the wide zone set that up and how the wide zone has set up the counter and set up the play action game?
Well, obviously, we base our offense out of the wide zone. That's the first thing we teach day one in 7th grade, and just getting to where our linemen can run that in their sleep, and the backs knowing how to make the cuts and all those things. But you obviously got to have something to go off that, which is our boot game, and then also misdirection with the counter. So getting defenses to flow fast, because you have to flow fast to take away the wide zone. But when they overcompensate for that, then we have to have something to be able to, okay, they're doing this, so what can we do now? So to have that and put that counter in last week, that's always been in our toolbox. Coach Marsh just did a good job with the step-by-step process of putting this offense. You also got to remember this. We started putting this offense in the middle of May. So our defense, we ran this whole same defense last year. It wasn't new to us. The kids knew it going in. Offensively, we're still a work in progress. So there's still things that we're adjusting to and implementing that we still don't have in there yet.
To stop that wide zone, it's so much of a stress on the defense because whether they're going to over a line and kick the front to the wide zone to the strength of the formation, or whether they're going to slant to it. But that backside inside linebacker taking away the cutback on the zone, you start to see that, the counter's out the gate. And we saw that last game in multiple sets as far as and I love watching Coach Marsh. You can tell he has a really understanding of just man count in the box, and understands how to get defenses aligned, how he wants to get them aligned, and then attack the alignment. Very impressed with Coach Marsh the first 3 games. A lot of fun to watch. So can you talk to everybody now about, I know you probably had a mindset of the bye. That's a learning process for young kids too, oftentimes. Can you talk a little bit about how you transitioned through the bye week, what the goal was of the bye week, and kind of your schedule now into the game week?
Well, it's really tricky, and it's really a sticky situation. It can be a slippery slope either way on how you treat a bye week. Until I came to Siloam, I'd always played week 1, 2, 3. We kept week 0 getting ready for week 1, so there never really had a bye week. In years past, at previous places, we had got the first round bye because we were the conference champions, so you had to keep that the same during the playoffs, which was tough because if you look, a lot of teams that come off that bye don't do so well, depending on how you treat it. We treated it business as normal. The whole thing about the bye week is keeping routine, trying to keep everything on schedule. Now, we didn't put in the hours and hours of time and hitting that we do in our normal week, so we had some time to heal up. But, we made more time for video and weights. We had regular practices Tuesday and Wednesday, barring no lightning or anything. We had to adjust some practices and stuff last week for that. Same way through Thursday, and then ended up with a Friday lift and go chance. But we kept it normal as usual. We had practice. Kids were here. They were working. We didn't let them go at 3 o'clock every day just because we're off. But what it did, it allowed us to heal. We had some guys beat up. Now we're back full go with everybody we've had. So to be able to get that healing process going, get some extra treatment days in, just get our legs back underneath, because it's about to be a 7-week war.
It's that bye week lets you, I agree, the healing process as far as, you're right, because it's going to be a grind for the next 2 months, and hopefully a little bit longer than 2 months as we move into the playoffs with that possible opportunity. But when we look at just the health of the team, it looks like you talked briefly that we didn't have the running back. I know that's not something we're going to talk about in the show here, but from a standpoint of having that bye week to get back going and getting back healthy, just a lot of positivity and probably a lot of basic things. It's a great. I love when Arkansas about 5, 6, 7 years ago, started that week 0. And so it gives you a chance to go through your non-conference schedule and then have a break and a pause and teaching time to go back and reteach some things that, hey, these are the things we need to clean up, whatever it may be. And I can see that from week to week. The thing I love about our team right now is you can see the growth week to week. Let's move on. So we're headed 4 hours south. Talk a little bit about Lake Hamilton, a man that's been there for quite some time, a guy that you know from your past all the way back to college, and their head football coach, someone that loves to run the football and someone that understands the wing T. And obviously, defensively, we got to understand how to stop, maybe not the true old school wing T all the time, but it's still wing T concepts. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Coach Gilleron, who's, we've met up many, many times in our professional career. Like I said, we were college buddies back at Arkansas Tech way in the early 90s. But Coach Gilleron has done the same through his coaching career at every school than what he's ever done. He's a wing T guy. He's a power football guy. He's going to throw it when he has to. He's going to play base defense, make you earn it. All of his kids are physical, big, strong. He believes in the weight room. All the things, that's just a total description of his team every year. And it's no same thing at Lake Hamilton. They've got good numbers. He's got good size. The kids are bought into his scheme, and they're just a mold of what he wants in his program. But they're very well coached. It's going to be a 4-quarter battle. If we got to get it to the fourth quarter where we got a chance to win it and take advantage of that. They don't really do a lot of beating themselves. They're pretty disciplined and very fundamental. So we just got to go down there and play our brand of football and not give them any gifts.
I think that's one thing you see teams that run a style of offense like wing T. You're going to see a physical mentality out of them, and really going to probably be physical on both sides of football generally because that's the way practice is every day for them, and they learn to be physical as far as just downhill kids and understand football and not beat yourself like you're talking about. Probably low turnovers, and it's something that we got to win that battle and have been successful. You called it out. I think it was in the scrimmage possibly. You said, I want to focus on our defense creating turnovers, and our defense has created turnovers here through the first 3 games. So hopefully we can continue that on. Got a couple more things here as we wrap this up, but I think one of the most underestimated things for young men is travel, and it's just something that's there. You wouldn't necessarily from the outside maybe think it's that big of a deal, but getting on a yellow dog bus and riding for 4 hours, changing your routine. Just talk a little bit about it is what it is, so it's going to come. How do we defeat that, and how do we overcome that as far as in preparation for it?
Well, first of all, the kids have got to know and understand how to travel, and that's the thing we built on last year was when we travel, this is how we travel. This is what we do, and this is how we act. This is who's on what bus, and how everything goes. As long there's structure in everything we do. Obviously, home field advantage means a lot. You get to stay there at your field house. You get to eat there at home. You get to hang out while you wait for everybody else to come to your place. So that's what Lake Hamilton is going to be able to do. We're going to make a day of it just because it's so long. We can't get on a bus and ride for 4.5 hours, get off and go play. So we're going to try to keep it as normal as possible. We're going to get in here and get our early morning workout, and then we're going to the Booster Club has done a great job planning the day for us. We're going to have a big team breakfast before we get on that bus, and then we're going to split it up. We're going to, at about 1.5 to 2 hour increments, we're going to drive to Arkansas Tech. They're gracious enough to let us go through, have a walk through there. We got that lined up so we can get off the bus, stretch our legs, and still have get mental reps of offensively, defensively, and special teams. Stretch out for about an hour, get back on, and we're going to try to make it to Benton, where we'll have a team meal in the early afternoon, eat, and by the time we get through with that, it's about an hour and 10-minute trip to Lake Hamilton. So when we divide it like that, it makes it a lot less of an ordeal. And then obviously, when we go down there and win the ball game, we're going to load up, and we're going to make it straight back and come straight back in 4 hours. So, but the kids understand how to travel. They know how to act on the bus. They know how to act in the restaurants, and that's just a testament to our community and parents and kids, and just knowing what to do, how to do what's right.
Yeah, we've got high character kids. There's no doubt about that, and it's full of a community that does understand that. It's something that's pretty special about Siloam Springs is the people of Siloam. You get down to Lake Hamilton. Game plan of getting down there. What time frame are you trying to get down to Lake Hamilton?
We always try to get there no later than 4:15ish. But just because the unloading and stuff, our training crew will be all set up and try to get down there and get everybody taped and get everybody rolling. We don't want to get right there, go get our pants on and go straight on one. We're going to take our time as much as we can. We'll start team meetings at about 5:15, and our first group goes out at 5:30. We are homecoming this week, so there's our chance to go win another homecoming game besides our own. So it's always good to go see how many homecomings you win in a year.
Yeah, no, I got a feeling as we grow as a program, and there'll be fewer and fewer homecomings scheduled for us in the future. I think it's something that I always took personal. Sometimes it's just the way the schedule works out, and that's probably the way it is at Lake Hamilton this year. We'll say that, but sometimes it's not the case, and I'm really confident what you're building. We're going to see fewer and fewer homecoming dresses out there on a Friday night when we go on the road. But when we talk about just wrapping up this show, last question for you here. I want to give you a chance to talk to the community a little bit, talk to Panther Nation a little bit about the team, the direction you see the program going thus far, and just in year one, building a foundation of success this year for years to come. Just give you a chance to talk a little bit to Panther Nation.
Well, it's just very important with everything that we have going 7 through 12. Our middle school teams right now are competing and doing very well. They have both shown great improvement from last year. We're really excited about our 8th grade team has already won more games than we did last year. Our 7th grade team has done the same with this new group, so we're really excited about them. Our 9th grade has suffered a lot of injuries this year. They've played tough in every ball game, but there's a lot of those things they hadn't been able to overcome, but they are getting better each week still. And then obviously we have our JV guys that go out and play every Monday, and every game that we've went and played, the first half has been a knockdown, drag out, and our belief is we want to develop players. So if you're at practice and you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're getting some reps on a Monday night. And our kids have grown. And you got to figure the guys that go out with us on a Monday night are guys that don't get very many snaps on a Friday. And I made the statement to them the other night, there's 17 9th grade juniors and sophomores that we left back at home that you put in that team makes a lot of difference. So we know the guys are already there at this place as far as growing. These guys are catching up to them because of all the things they're able to do to become a better player.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Coach. You're developing, leading up. You don't want to forget the end results, what we're really concerned about as far as the game of football. Obviously, we're trying to develop our young men and people and give them all the traits to be successful in life. But from a standpoint of it's the end result of varsity football that we're focused on out. And don't overlook in 9th grade, anytime you pull up your 9th grade quarterback to play varsity, if he plays 9th grade football, it'll probably be a big impact, I'd say, with your 9th grade team. Just like they were a year ago, they were very successful as a group. I know you also had a big injury in there as well, besides at the quarterback position as well. So I know you got kids that are developing, kids that are doing a good job of the program. It's exciting to see what direction Siloam Springs football is going. Let's coach tomorrow night. Let's go get our first conference win, start out 1-0, and have a safe trip back. Encourage everybody that can't make it to Lake Hamilton, go down there and support the team. If you can't, catch the live stream tomorrow night. It's going to be a good show. It's going to be a good game, and I look forward to watching Siloam start the conference season 1-0.